Most haunted houses give you a warning, a cold spot, a shadow, a feeling. But not Gladstone Villa. Gladstone Villa waited until you were already inside, until you'd unpacked, settled, closed the door behind you. Then came the footsteps. Upstairs, always upstairs. The house stood on Cardiff Road, in the town of Bargoed, South Wales, 3 stories high, built around 1900, named after a prime minister. From the street, it looked normal, if slightly imposing. But for the Dexter family, who moved in during the 1960s, it would become something else entirely. A place where the upstairs floor creaked when no one was home, where the air pressed too tightly to your chest, where sleep became a negotiation, and the stairs were a line you didn't cross after dark. It began slowly, soft footsteps when no one was upstairs, lights flickering without cause, electrical cords tugged by invisible hands. They gave it a name, Johnny the Ghost, like naming a tumor, something malignant, but easier to live with when you pretend it's friendly. But this wasn't a haunting that came and went. This was something that stayed, watched, waited. And then it began to play. Furniture overturned in empty rooms, a glass bottle hurled across the bedroom, narrowly missing Andrew Dexter's grandfather. A baby crying from inside a closet. Every night, the footsteps returned, steady, measured, pacing above them while they sat downstairs. Bill, the grandfather, would listen, track it with his finger and say,
"He's there now."
Not it. He. The entity, whatever it was, had claimed the upstairs, not by accident, not as a leftover echo. It lived there now. One morning, Andrew's mother went to wake her husband. He was asleep, but across his chest, balanced deliberately, was the ironing board. He blamed his father-in-law, until it happened again and again. Eventually, no one in the family slept upstairs. Only Bill remained, brave, or foolish, or already half-claimed. The others dragged their bedding downstairs and kept the lights on for years. But the presence wasn't just content to pace, it was seen. Once, Caroline, Andrew's mother, glanced toward the living room doorway and saw a figure, tall, hooded, a monk, faceless beneath his cowl, just standing there, like a misplaced shadow that had chosen not to move. No sound, no breath. Then it vanished. Fred, a friend of the family, ducked one evening when a deafening bang struck above his head. He thought the ceiling was coming down. They ran upstairs. Nothing was out of place. Andrew, still a child, experienced it firsthand. One night, lying in bed alone, he felt something heavy drop onto the mattress at his feet. The bed dipped. The springs creaked. He looked. Nothing, except for the paw prints. His grandfather once had a black Labrador named Tovey. It had died before Andrew was born. But the bed had the clear impressions of something quadrupedal, still warm. Other things happened too. Caroline heard a baby crying in a room that hadn't held a baby in decades. A nurse tending to Caroline's injured foot thought she was being held in place, except no one was touching her. And then there was the moment Bill, tough, grounded, unshakable Bill, lay frozen in bed, unable to move. He couldn't speak, couldn't cry out, could only listen to the breath that wasn't his, to the footsteps crossing the room. The family called in a medium, John Matthews. He asked questions, called out to the spirit, and when he knocked on the ceiling, it knocked back. He entered a trance, tried to make contact, failed to get a name. Just one chilling confirmation. There was something there, and it wasn't done. They brought in a priest, Graham Jones, to bless the house. He read prayers, sprinkled holy water. The house fell quiet. For a while. But something like this doesn't leave. It waits. One night, the doorknob to their downstairs room began to turn. Slowly, deliberately. A faint metal rattle, like fingers that didn't care to hide anymore. Then came the sound of boxes, already packed for their departure, being thrown across the hallway. They left Gladstone Villa in 1978, but they weren't the last. After the Dexters moved out, the property was converted into a hotel. Guests reported flickering lights, crying babies, a woman in white drifting through room 5. Staff told Andrew their own stories when he returned decades later. They weren't surprised when he shared his. He dug into the history. In 1924, a baby, Elvin Kimiet, had died in the house. The baby's mother, Evelyn, continued to live there for decades. When she passed away in 1970, the house changed. That was the year the Dexters moved in, and the activity began. The baby's cries, once imagined, grew louder, as if something grieving and unfinished had been stirred awake. Or perhaps something older simply found a new family to notice it. And there was more. Just across the road stood an old pub, hiding a sealed priest hole within its walls, a remnant of older fears, older secrets. 2 deaths, 1 seal, a place already carrying too many shadows. No one opens the priest hole now, no one talks about it, but it's there, waiting. Some hauntings are echoes, some are rage, but this one was deliberate. It chose its space, waited until the Dexters were inside, until the baby was born, until the priest came, until they turned off the lights, and then it acted. Not violently, not loudly, just enough. Just enough to remind them who owned the upstairs. If you pass Cardiff Road today, you'll find a care home where the house once stood. It looks quiet, safe, but don't linger. Don't look too long at the upper windows. And whatever you do, don't go upstairs. Not there. Not in Gladstone Villa.